the topic today is interesting and a little bit. Usually, I feel like I have a sense of direction where the conversation uh, wants to go or something. But right now, it's really an, a question that we would like to explore, or a theme, a topic, and the and there are different aspects to it. And I would like to start with a story. And the story is that I danced with a friend of mine, and it was a super beautiful, those unicorns that we are chasing, as um, someone said. And it was a unicorn. And then the next day, it was at a festival. Um, that person didn't even say hi to me. And for me, the question arose, what kind of, first of all, what kind of expectations we have in tango as in a relationship, and second, what kind of responsibility we have towards the other person. Do we have any, or do we assume any? Is there something and we don't want it, maybe we reject it? So this conversation arose from that experience. And yeah, I think it would be interesting to hear your experiences, your takes, your perspectives. And we also have a couple different directions, or different angles to shine on the topic. So if anyone has something that comes up, yeah.
The first thing that comes as I'm hearing you is that we are all so different. And I guess we also have a different idea of what tango is, or what we want to take out of tango or a tanda or a milonga. Um, for some people, for many people, a tango milonga or a tanda, it's just fun, just having fun, and that's it, right? A way to get out of your house or go and dance the dance you like, the dance you love, and have fun, see friends, and that's it. I guess there are other people that feels that tango can be something else, like a beautiful experience. Like for me, for instance, going to tango, eh, for me is not only having the experience in the space, but also I take from tango valuable lessons for my life. I can say it in a short sentence. But also, people like the example you put, Ala, is we expect something else, like community, perhaps, like build something else out of just not just a dance, but relationships. At least the minimum level of acknowledgement that we had a particular experience, and then that counts for something. So next time we meet, we acknowledge that. I don't know if the word is responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. Um, it's like that sense of, yeah, yeah, we had an experience. Hey, let's dance again, or at least say hello. sometimes it happens that you had a beautiful experience and then the following encounter doesn't, not even a hello, you know.
Mhm.
So I guess it's different for different people. I don't know. Maybe I'm just putting all these ideas to keep warming up the topic.
I mean, I haven't been dancing on milongas for very long. I think I only started going to milongas regularly in January this year. But um, what I experienced in Berlin is that there are dynamics on milongas that I do not experience that way at other social dances, like, for example, salsa or everything. And that also kind of annoy me. I have the feeling that tango people, or at least most of the people I interacted with that I didn't know before, they want to, or they are very reluctant to verbalize things, to talk. Like people telling me that you should do the cabaseo and not just walk somewhere and ask the person if they want to dance, or many things that I find very irritating, especially for me because I dance both roles from the beginning. Uh, but I don't identify myself as queer. I think it should be like a very normal thing at normal milongas. But then people tell me, yeah, but you should go to queer milongas where it's normal to do open role, and I like, it has nothing to do with my sexual identity. Um, so for me, it's kind of essential if I am at a milonga where nobody knows me and I want to follow, I need to approach people and talk to them because otherwise nobody is assuming that
Mm.
I'm following. And if they do cabaseo, they think I want to lead, and maybe they don't want that. So all that kind of non-verbal thing is really annoying me. And I think it also, from my experience, it helps after Tanda to actually take the time and exchange a few words about how the dance was. Um, Simply because, yeah, I think it's nice. It's like a um, and sometimes I feel people are afraid maybe that speaking about the dance will kind of destroy the magic of the moment or something. But I think that's completely wrong. In my experience, it like it only gets better or at least never worse. I mean, even exchanging a few words afterwards. And I've also had experiences where hearing from someone um, or getting approached by someone after the dance, and then they told me a few things, actually gave a whole new perspective to the dance that was really nice for me. For example, on the last milonga I was at, I danced with uh, with an older woman, and I think Miri told me, "Yeah, she's a very good leader. You should ask her. I danced with her before." And I approached her, and I was already planning on leaving because I had to leave early. I had to wake up early the next morning, so I thought, okay, this will be my last dance. And I asked her if she would wanted to lead me, and we danced, and it was really nice. It wasn't like super special or anything, but it was just a really nice tanda. And then I went to the to the changing room to get my stuff, and then she came to me because she was also leaving, and she told me like, "Thank you a lot for this dance. You really saved my evening." And then you saved my evening, my milonga. And then she also left, and I was really touched because I thought like she didn't elaborate why she maybe had a bad evening up to that point, or well, because maybe she didn't feel like it. But just hearing that made me feel really happy because I thought, yeah, this is really nice.
Mhm.
And I like next time I see her, I will definitely at least greet her. Yeah, because yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. It's really like what I felt is like we need the new generation of dancers to actually change something, because I feel like I never heard that someone would say, "Oh, but after the tanda, it would be nice to exchange some words." Like ever in my 40 years of
Really?
yeah. I mean, I do it because
Yeah.
with people that I know, but
Mm.
I've never heard anybody say it would be nice
Hmm.
to exchange something after the tanda. And my heart just opened when I heard that. I was be like, yeah, it would be nice. It actually would be nice in whatever way, whether I wasn't feeling very whatever safe, whatever, because sometimes I tell people if I don't like something or if I like something particular, but it actually to say it, to kind of like I don't know, I it made an impact on me
Mm.
saying that. Thank you.
There is one thing that you said. Sorry, your name Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah.
Yeah.
One part of what you share was this about made me think about how when we dance with someone, either intentionally or not, we always have an impact on that person, or either your energy, your presence, the way you dance, the way your embraces, you always have an impact. It can be boredom, it can be joy, or it can be a really beautiful experience. And you are many times not really aware of that. Um, so what I want to say is that it's not a neutral thing to go and dance with someone. It's not something like inconsequential. For me, at least, not always, but in some dances, for me, uh, close, intimate, uh, delicious standards leave always an imprint in my system, regardless of if I see the person or not. Again, it leaves something in my system. So yeah, going back to that question, what happens if I see the person again? You know? It would be normal at least to say a word, at least to say, "Oh, that was great," you know, or at least say, "Oh, dancing that time that was you say my night, you say my night," like your friend said. So yeah, again, what's that? Is that just normal standard human behavior, or is a responsibility? I would say, why don't we make it normal? It's a normal human thing, just to acknowledge. So, that was beautiful. You know?
Do we have a? Can I?
Yeah.
Are you okay? You're not, but not butting in. Um, an interesting dynamic. There's an older couple that right now she's coming back. She had broke her leg, so her dancing has been compromised, of course, and her husband as well. And by older, I mean they're my age. They're a little older than me. But they sit over in the corner, and they're a British couple, so I treat them like royalty. So I reserve their special chairs over in the corner. But anyway, they are the social magnets for the evening. So all through the evening, because she only dances once or twice, people just kind of move in and out of their milieu and chat and often people say, I couldn't dance last night for whatever reason, but had a really good visit. I felt the sense of community from Richard and Louise. And then I don't talk much during a tango, during an evening, because I'm dancing all the time, and plus paying attention to the dynamics or the organizational things in the room. But I'll get the gossip afterward. So I'll get to hear who liked what, or who's feeling what, or who's in what condition, or who connected with whom. So it's fun. It enriches everything. But plus, I'm able to follow up on stuff if need be, or if I care to. So, so that conversation is happening if people choose to. I mean, not everybody cares to be particularly verbal, but it's for me getting the next day I get the report. I get the breakdown. It's a lot of fun. And Jesus, like you say, I mean, we call that normal, and I call caring for people normal. I call when somebody, in our group, there's more and more younger people, but still there's the old guard, and our health is always being compromised in some way or another. So, visiting somebody in the hospital, which has happened a couple times in the last several months, I think that's precious, and those are precious human encounters, expressions of caring that are amazingly meaningful to people, even when you think that, I just stopped in and said hello, for 15, 20 minutes, but it means a whole lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be significant or helpful to notice that Aidan is an organizer in Edmonton, and I feel like when we talk about our experiences, it always colored by the situation where we are situated, by the community, by the milonga. In one milonga, I can feel super welcomed, and everybody is super open and friendly and shares. And and in another milonga, it's super cold, super snobbish, super elitist and cliquey. And so I think when we talk about our experiences, it's also important to differentiate, or at the same time, from my experience, and again, I'm just talking from myself, from my experience. Granted, I have a few years of dancing on different continents in different cities, so that's what I'm kind of like my experience being colored by. But even in Berlin, and when people are telling you, Jeremias, that go to a queer milonga, from my experience, usually the queer milongas are so much more open and welcoming and friendly than the super high-end whatever, we are the best level dancers and we only dance with each other. So yeah, and I think
That's also my experience. I just think it's a very sad reality.
and honestly, this from this reality came this project or this Tango Sensaciones, because when I'm completely honest, from the very, let's say not the very beginning, but at least when I found somatic trauma therapy and started, it coincided with started going with to festivals, to tango festivals. This is where I started to notice that how dysfunctional and how snob the tango community is, and I wanted to change it. And so my whole, like, I don't know, 7 years have been to how do I bring the the warmth, the humanness, the caring part of the community in somatic trauma therapy, or tantra, or whatever you want to call it, into tango. How, and I'm probably completely delusional, wanting to change the tango culture. And oftentimes I'm being said this and shown this in my face, where people are like, yeah, right. And I know that there are people who want to change it and there are people who don't. But I want to dance in a community that is responsive, that is about like caring for people, that it's like Jesus said, maybe the wrong responsibility is not the right word, probably not. It's not that somebody has the responsibility, but I want to be caring to another human being. And even what you also said about cabeceo, how the structure works for 1920, where a man was a leader and a woman was the follower, and there was nothing in between, or men and men were dancing together to practice, but not in a milonga. This was working. Nowadays, I see there is particularly one guy who has a t-shirt, "I also follow." And is this how we're going to communicate? Through sign language? Like, really? I mean, come on. But this is, like, it's either implies that you are well known and that there are leaders and followers who are leading and following interchangeably, or you have to actually open your mouth and talk. Unheard of. And it's, yeah, I'm struggling. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually also curious about kind of Aiden and Jeremias, how you, because Aiden, I don't know how many years you've been dancing, but I think that you also a little bit,
20.
okay. I know that you have your community, but you also have experience with other communities or with other, like with tango in general. And the thought process is it even possible to change that culture, or do we need people like Jeremias who are not steeped in this juice of rules and structures and regulations and not doing anything else, to change it? Like, is it even possible?
Talk a little bit if you don't mind me jumping in. because this challenge, that question challenges me all the time, and I did some pretty serious reflection on it this past weekend, this morning as well. With respect to somebody in our community that we have several. Well, we are an entry-level community. We have a few very experienced dancers, but mostly from beginner to intermediate level. But we've also had a program for people with disabilities. So there's a gentleman with Parkinson's. There's the woman who's broke her leg. We just walk around the floor, whatever. So we create space for people that aren't good dancers, or haven't been or never will be or whatever. Now, one of my current challenges is with somebody who really does not look the part of a tangera, and the current teacher in town, she's leaving now, but she's very, very caring and concerned, and has taken this person under her wing, and likes the way she's learned to dance and whatnot. Still very much a beginner level dancer, but I said, well, excuse me for being, I don't know, sexist or judgmental or whatever, but my comment was, well, and her concern was she wasn't getting anybody to dance with her. And I said, well, it's not really because of her dancing, it's because of her appearance. Is there anything you could do to help her look better? So, excuse me for being so shallow, I suppose. Anyway, I took that on as my challenge to get past those judgments and dance with her anyway, even though I have to adjust her wardrobe halfway through the song just so that she's not exposed or something like this. Anyway, so that's a stretch for me, and it's pushing that appearance judgment button, which of course a lot of tango is built on. But anyway, I think so before I get into the fact that I think we've made a whole lot of progress in what you're talking about, Ella, I get this pushed back at me all the time on a personal level. But the other point I'll make, and I'm a bit embarrassed to say it, especially as a group organizer, but for me, my core value is the individual comes over the form, and that the form serves the individual or serves the community, not the reverse. And my opinion would be that in established communities, the form always takes precedence. And my experience in the church, and I got run out of the church because personal choice too as well, because I was putting the individual ahead of the structure or the routine or the formula. And so that's where I've always come from. And I don't know if I need to say any more about it than that, but I keep getting challenged on that. But the thing that really warms my heart, I guess, is that other leaders in the community have picked up that value, and they say, well, we're the community that accepts everybody and makes a space for everybody. And holy shit, that's wow. That other people have picked that up, and so somebody says, I want to commit myself to being with the fellow who has Parkinson's. And all he does is shuffle around the floor all the time. And she's a good dancer and cares about her dancing, but she spends an hour a night just shuffling around the floor when she could be taking a lesson or could be dancing with somebody regular or whatever. And there's just people like that have kind of come together. So it's I experience it as very enriching.
I love that, especially that idea that forms are there for the individual and not the other way around. Because my experience in tango is that the etiquette is supremacy. It's like you follow the etiquette regardless. I just remember one expression of a beginner tango dancer one day in a milonga. She was like starting her journey, and he went to the first milonga, and I was there, and everybody was just dressing very well dressed up and very elegant, and she comes from dances like salsa, bachata, and then comes to the milonga, and I look at her just trying to dance, and then she said yes, and we went to the dance, and she was like, I don't understand this. It feels like a funeral. It's like, it's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I came to the milonga because I was invited. This is my first milonga, and I don't understand this. All the ladies sitting, waiting for someone to approach her, and no talking, just miradas, cabeceos. And I'm just sitting there waiting to be picked up. I feel like, what are we doing? Where is the fun of it? Yeah.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to that. And I was just thinking about an experience that was also very um, very I felt it was very typical. I was at a very nice milonga a few months ago in Berlin that is actually hosted by a young couple who also kind of want to frame the milonga as a very social milonga where people are relaxed, where they can also party a bit and whatever. But the only 2 or 3 times when people were actually laughing and there was like joy in the room that you could see and feel and hear was during cortinas when they were playing salsa and cumbia. And I was sitting next to a person for some time, and I was almost not dancing any tango at all because knew me, and everyone was more in their bubble. Only dancing with people they knew were the same level as them and whatever. And then there was a salsa cortina, and the person sitting next to me was like, moving their feet to the rhythm and singing along in Spanish. So I was like, obviously, okay, she knows salsa. And I asked her if she wanted to dance salsa for the cortina. And we danced salsa. It was so fun. We enjoyed it a lot. But of course, after, I don't know, 50 seconds, it was over. And then we kept talking a bit. We danced tango. And then, I don't know, 20 minutes later, when there was another salsa cortina, a friend of her came and said like, "Oh, you were dancing salsa before. Can you also dance salsa with me?" And we also danced salsa, and then again tango. So it was so funny to me because I don't even remember. I think I danced maybe 2 or 3 other tango tandas with people I already knew who were also kind of more like beginners and who didn't know anyone. So we kind of stuck together. But those were the only 2 new people I met at that milonga who danced with me was through salsa. And also that other cortina that was a cumbia, people actually started doing like a small, like, I don't know how it is called in English, but in German it's called Polonaise. It's like when everybody is like forming a line and then doing things like this, and people pass underneath, and like kind of funny party dances. And then as soon as tango started again, everybody got very serious. And this has been like, I was thinking about this a lot because I actually don't understand why. Because to me, tango can be very funny in a way, and I feel that most people, like, I don't understand why most people uh, block this or block themselves from actually feeling uh, not only joy, as in joy about a very beautiful dance, but also be gentle with themselves, gentle with making mistakes. It's like when I dance with someone and something unexpected happens that most people would call a mistake, it can become something new and funny and surprising. And that's the whole thing about a joke, is that it's surprising. And I feel that's the whole core of tango, right? It's about improvising. And I think you can only truly improvise if you can be surprised and then do something with a surprise in a dance. Because what I what I notice in Berlin is that there are so many different styles of tango, and people from all over the world, from all different kinds of schools, from all different kinds of teachings, that it's almost impossible to say there is one tango argentino. So if I go to a milonga and I dance with different people and both roles, every dance is completely different. Sometimes it feels like a completely different dance. Um, which I enjoy a lot. I just sometimes think it's really funny that people often think that their way of dancing the tango is like the standard dance, and they are surprised why I do something different or why I don't react to what they think they're leading, or I react in a different way. And I'm very thankful for the way I came to tango, because I started dancing tango argentino in Lüneburg with an amazing teacher that I like a lot, and she has a very structural approach to tango that is focused on understanding the very, very basics of the tango and teaching tango in a way that is focused on the the physical capabilities of an individual. So she never teaches anything that is related to form, or she never teaches fixed steps like the bass step or anything, because she says the tango is all about improvising. So why should I teach a beginner certain steps that they can just learn by heart and do the base and whatever? And then after a few years, they have to start learning the whole thing again to be able to improvise, because up until then they only do the things they learned by heart. So her way of teaching tango is very, very fine and sensitive, but not flashy at all, and not focused on form at all, which many people that I dance with in Berlin, uh, they dance a completely different dance. And when I came here, I already knew that I liked that very sensitive style of dancing tango a lot. That was the whole reason why I stuck to tango, because I knew many different dances before, but that's why I wanted to stay with tango. So when I came to Berlin and I danced with people who don't enjoy that kind of dance and who have a very rigid style of dancing and leading and following, I I think like, okay, that's fine, but that's just not the way I want to dance. And so I think I still consider myself as a beginner or maybe early intermediate. But in that way, I'm really thankful that I don't have this idea of, oh, I have to listen to everything the teachers say, and everything that advanced dancers who have been dancing for many years is correct. And because I feel like no, I want to dance the tango that I enjoy, and if I go to a milonga where I have the feeling that people have a completely different understanding, I just don't go there anymore. And in Berlin, I have the privilege that there is so much tango, so many milongas, so many people that I can find those who enjoy the same kind of dance that I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm. It made me think. I mean, what you're saying made me think. If I mean, you probably could have a word on that, Aidan, as an organizer. If the structure that we have in place in Tango are really helping to create a basic human experience, where like basic acknowledgement of talking, saying hello, saying, hey, how are you, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that happens in a way in Milongas. It's also a social experience where you have tea and have drinks, not only dancing. But I sometimes feel like the structures that we have in place don't really help. Um, um, I would say the building of a community. I don't know. I got lost here.
I feel like that we have to, like, more and more I'm realizing how the rules were created in a whole different society, where I think a lot of it was to protect the individual, because the behavior was very different. So in to protect the man from being humiliated by a no of a woman, the cabeceo was invented. And at the same time, I feel like the respectful kind of like what you call it, non to protect the woman of any, let's say, sexual advances, or that the woman is being also respected. The stoicness, I don't know the word, the proper word is missing right now, but like, so that they had reasons. These rules and these structures have a reason, but are they still valid for us? This is the question. Are they still applicable, or do we have, or maybe because for me, how I see it, people had communities. People had communities, and they went dancing tango not to create a community. They were living in communities.
Yeah.
They went to dance tango for social reasons, to get to know each other, to touch each other, I don't know, like, and then more and more what developed was a mastery, how to dance faster, stronger, longer, with the right technique. That developed over time, but nobody questioned the rules from 1920, 1930, 1940. And I feel like now the question is, what do we want? Where are we going? Because for me, learning the let's say correct technique, I don't know, is kind of learning a vocabulary. This is what makes me able to dance with another person. If I know how he's leading, I will be able to follow. If I don't know the vocabulary, we won't be able to communicate. And at the same time, there are different approaches to this vocabulary and different preferences. Like Jeremiah said, that maybe a different style of tango somebody prefers that or somebody prefers that. It's like, so my question is, where are we going? What do we want? Because for me, for example, I want a community, and maybe someone, I actually spoke with a friend and he was like, I'm happy not to talk in tango because I'm talking the whole day and I don't want to talk anymore. This is why I'm going to dance tango, because I don't have to talk. And fair enough. You know, what am I going to say? No, you have to? No, absolutely not. But how do we like, for me, why I'm doing this and why I'm like, what I desire is more care and less stoicness and less individualism and less um, observing structures and observing the rules no matter what. And while we are maybe hurting people, I'm saying maybe because I don't want to speak for everybody, but I don't feel like it's a um, caring way, the rule of looking away, if you, as a no to a mirada is looking away. I don't think this is actually caring to anyone. I mean, we all human beings, we all have bodies, and being disregarded is not a nice thing. So for me is like, and granted, those who think that this is okay can be there and can follow that. And I want to talk with those who don't think that that's okay and who want um, a more caring tango society where we can talk about things and can say, like, Aiden's community, like, welcome people who are beginners, who are not at that level, and maybe not at that level because of their bodily structure, of their what, a broken leg, Parkinson, I don't know. But do we, like, is the snob culture is kind of like uh rausekeln would be the German word, but kind of like pushing them aside and not welcoming them? Is this is not what I want. This is, well,
One of the elements, Ella, is that just the evolution of institutions or structures or social or communities or whatever. And I mean, it starts off with the energetic or spiritual connection element that happens, but that's fairly dynamic, but also somewhat chaotic, certainly not structured. But then it gets layered, and the longer things live, the more concretized they become, the more structured, the more rigid. And in the end, they end up, as you say, being contrary to the original intent or the formative principle or spirit that engendered the community in the first place. And at least historically, the only way that changes is the institutions get blown up, or there's a new wave of chaos that blows in and destabilizes or undermines things, and then you start building again. But I mean, I experience it. I mean, I certainly say it in the church, of course, but also with my work as a social worker, where when I started off as a social worker 25 years ago, it was the program I was in was really about helping individuals and helping their lives get better. And then as the years went past, it became more and more systematized, regulated, formulated, until the end when I left helping an individual. We weren't even actually allowed to see individuals. We were limited to 2 visits a year, and that's only if it was required. So the bureaucrats control things. And so what's the solution? The solution is, at some point somebody's going to say, this whole thing is really fucked up. We got to scrap it and start all over from the beginning. And then there'll be all this chaos where everybody's doing whatever and blah, blah, blah. And then it'll go through that same process of rigidifying. But, so you're in that vanguard that's saying, like, this doesn't work. This doesn't serve people's needs. It serves the institution or the form or the structure or somebody's ego. Let's make it really matter. Let's make it really count, and really evaluate what we're in this for. And yeah.
Two particular examples of what we are talking about, and that affects me deeply, is miradas and cabeceos. Is, I would say, a nice norm, nice rule, keep you safe of embarrassing moments. But we made it that rule so rigid that even though we are 1 meter away, we don't talk. And that rule stops working when a community, like some communities I know, are mostly formed of old people like me with bad sight. In the daylight is clear. It's clear from the distance, I can see. But in salons or places where the light is dimmed and you hardly see the faces, how can you figure out who is looking at you or not from 20 meters away? So what you see happening in the end is that people need to stand up and walk all the way until they are 3 meters closer and then look and then receive the cabeceo, because that was pretty evident and clear. It's like, what are we doing? That's one example. I forgot the other one, but that's the one I feel like it feels too much.
And go ahead.
I just want to insert a little thing. There's one of the women that comes to our communities from Kazakhstan, or anyway, big woman, and just has this exuberance, but a really unrefined exuberance. So she knows when the first Malonga comes up, I'm going to ask her. So she's looking in my direction, and we're across the room. Anyway, she comes. She goes, all the way across the floor. So it is just so energizing but unsophisticated. It's just a hoot. That's so fun.
Unsophisticated. How interesting this word, unsophisticated.
Yeah.
And I think this is what rules from the I'm going to say subconscious mind, is that for me, I'm trying to be sophisticated. I'm trying to show the others that I know the rules and I can behave in this structure. So you don't have to be scared of me. And when people actually know me, they're like, my God, you're so crazy. And I'm like, haha, yes, but I will never show this side in tango, in a milonga, because I'm sophisticated and I'm polite and I know how to behave. I know the rules. But this is actually like unsophisticated. It just, I'm like, oh yeah, me unsophisticated? No, I don't want to be called unsophisticated. But I'm that person who's like, oh my God, I love this song. Do you want to dance? So unsophisticated. How dare I?
Now I remember the other example.
Go for it.
It's very unsophisticated. Probably anathema. It's like, the round, in the milonga.
La ronda.
La ronda, and then if you're going to dance in the middle of a tanda, the rule is that you have to wait and ask for permission to the couple and then you make eye contact, and then the leader normally says, yeah, and then you can pass and enter the ronda. And what happens, I'm so mad with this rule, because what happens so many times is like, someone told me, my partner said, you have to wait and ask. As a leader, you are the one to ask, you have to ask. So you have to do that. So I was learning the rule, and I was waiting until finally someone caught my eye and said yes. It was like 3 couples passing, and it was at what point, even though there is a space, what are we doing here? When I think about other dances, it doesn't matter, We don't have a ronda, of course, but you can just jump when there is a space and join the dance.
And again, it's true when there is space, then just join. I don't know why you would stand there and wait for 3 couples if there is space. And it was invented to protect people.
Yeah, of
Because
course.
how many times people just barge in and they collide with a couple who didn't know that there was a person.
Yeah.
So I think it's like
I'm rebelling right now.
healthy judgment of a situation where you like, I'm not gonna wait for 10 couples to pass by if there are 5 couples on the floor. Like, no, I'm gonna find the way. And or in a big festival like Porridge, 1,000 people dancing, and if a leader just grabs my hand and moves his way through to the floor where there is space, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna say, don't you dare. Did you ask all the people whether they nodded towards you? Nah. But like, I just want to acknowledge that the rules were made for something.
Mhm.
And can we use a healthy judgment to say, I don't need this rule right now.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
But to me, that's the nice thing of a culture that is not institutionalized, because it sorry, Adam, you were talking about the church earlier, and I'm so happy that there is no church of tango, because that means that every group, every um, in each city, or even in Berlin, there are several different groups, can kind of make their own interpretation of the rules, right?
Mm.
And I think that people in the tango community are maybe not that much aware of this, because there isn't, or at least in Berlin, there are no formalized groups, as in there's this school and the people from this school kind of have the same idea of tango, and then there are people from this school who kind of have the same idea of tango, but they also differentiate each other from each other. I don't see that in tango. Whereas before, when I moved to Berlin for the first 3 years, I did capoeira, and there it is very much like that. And I had never done anything like this before, and in the beginning I was struggling a bit, but I've learned many things from it. And what I took away is that it's a wonderful thing if rules of groups are not dictated by any institution, but are made by the group itself.
Mm.
Because then you can always choose, oh, well, this school of capoeira has a set of rules which I don't like, so I can go to the other group. And the groups, they have traditions, they come from certain teachers and from certain schools, they have names and they have labels, but it's all self-organized and a very living tradition. And you have teachers all the time who split up from the original group because their idea of capoeira differs a bit, or they want to bring in some new element, and the original teacher says, no, this is not how I taught it. You need to make a new school with your name if you want to do that. And I like it a lot because it means that I can go to a capoeira event, and I will be aware that if it's a very different school, and if I know a bit the history of capoeira, I can kind of judge, okay, this school is very different from mine. So maybe I need to pay attention, not just jump into the horda, which is like the open circle, to participate, because maybe I will get injured not knowing how they play, because there are many different styles. Um, or if I go to a group where there are a lot of rules that are very traditional, for example, like dress codes, and I don't want to be in that rigid set of rules, I can go to a different group that is playing in jeans and shirts, for example, in normal shoes on the streets. Um, and that I really like. And for me, I just took that kind of attitude to all other social dances, that I try to see what are actually the rules and the values of a certain group, how they interpret the dance or the thing they're doing, and do I like it, or don't I? And especially when it comes to tradition of a certain dance, um, in capoeira, for example, many people insist on the tradition of the culture because it is so deeply rooted in um, Afro-American, Afro-Brazilian culture and resistance. So I see that, and I think that it is really important to think of that culture. And the same, I would say, in tango, you could argue that it might, or I would understand if a group expects you to learn about the history of tango, how it came into being, like what were the main orchestras, how was the basic steps developed and everything. I could understand that, but I could still then choose, do I think that all this history actually brings me something to my dance today, and that I should still follow those rules? Or should I only hear this history to understand where the dance comes from, but then say, I understand it and I acknowledge it, but I am a different person in a completely different place in a different century, and I I will make, or not, I will not make, but I will dance in a different style because many things have changed for me
Yeah,
that don't make sense now anymore.
yeah,
For example, in one example in capoeira is there are some groups who only play in completely in white, and from the outside that sometimes appears like a cult thing, or like a very uniform thing, or I mean, not really militaristic because it's white, but kind of that whole uniform thing. I also don't like it a lot. But the only reason why this was made in the beginning was that capoeira was very much illegalized in Brazil around 1900. And there were one or two teachers or mestres who managed to bring capoeira out of the illegal sphere and to make it a culture that is actually appreciated by the mainstream society, or the, yeah. And one very important part of that was to kind of give capoeira this clean image of people who are dancing in clean clothes, white clothes. They are not gangs, they are not fighting in the streets. And I acknowledge this history, but I don't need to dance in white.
yes,
So the same in tango. I acknowledge why people did the cabaseo, but actually, when I think about it and I actually talk about it, I realize the reasons why they did cabaseo are actually not even like I wouldn't even say that I don't agree with it anymore, but I now have a very contrary opinion because I say that when I was talking to older people who were actually not reflecting about it a lot, they just said, yeah, cabaseo is nice. And then some women who were followers said, I also had this situation where somebody came to me and asked me, and then I said yes, even though I actually didn't want to, but I didn't dare to say no, or I was feeling uncomfortable to say no. And then I thought, like, that in my thinking, the problem is not the verbalizing, but the problem is that a woman is socialized to not be able to say no and to reject a man. And if you say it that way, all those old people would agree because, I mean, they are not from the 1920s, but they were born in maybe 1960, 1970. So I feel like it to me it helps a lot to speak about these things and question. And I think the good thing in Berlin is that a lot of young people are coming to tango, and I think sometimes it just needs new perspectives, new people to come into this to talk about these things. Because when I say all these things, or when I find those words, people actually agree. They just have never thought about it this way. They have never thought about it in a way that uh, the cabaseo is actually quite outrageous from a present perspective, because it assumes that a woman saying no is a shame. That's like, come on, what the fuck? Like, what century do we live in? But of course, if a cabaseo is taught, nobody says it in that way. People say it's they say it in more vague terms. They say the cabaseo is actually a good thing because it makes rejection less of a it um, like it makes people, it makes it easy to avoid uncomfortable situation. I think that's what most people actually say, but
Yeah.
it's like very vague. And then people think like, yeah, I don't want uncomfortable situation, I want to avoid them, so maybe cabaseo is good, and they
Mm,
just accept it.
yeah.
But in our present society, it doesn't make sense anymore, because to me, I have had so many more awkward situations through weird, stupid, wrong cabaseo situation than to actually just approach someone and talk to them. Like this whole thing that you said, Jesus, it happens all the time. Like people sitting across the dance floor. I have no, like I have good eyes, but I have no idea. Are they watching the dancers? Are they watching me? Uh, then there's someone at the bar who looks towards me, but but I'm sitting at an angle, so they are maybe like from my right. They are looking at me. I think, oh, they're making eye contact, and then the cabaseo follows, and I acknowledge, and then the guy sitting next to me, who's actually a friend of mine, stands up and goes to them and dances with him, and I'm like,
Yeah.
come on. And I don't even have a way of knowing, like, did the person want to dance with me or with him? And it makes everything so, like, weird. And I sit there the whole dance and just thinking about, like, did I miss out? Or, like, should I approach the guy after the dance and ask him to also dance with? Like, it's so stupid and weird. Whereas if I go to someone and just ask, in a friendly way, because I'm a friendly person and I was socialized in a way that I'm not a prick. I mean, it's like you can just ask, and then they can say no, or they can say, and they don't even have to find an excuse. Like sometimes then people say like, "Oh, I'm tired right now," and then the next tanda they dance with someone else. Like it's fine with me. I see that they were awkward with just saying no and found some stupid excuse. But then I had some other people who were then ranting and gossiping about people rejecting them with some excuse. And then afterwards dancing with someone, actually showing that it was just an excuse. So I think that to me, it would be much like if I led a tango group, for example, I would specifically make exercises in tango courses or before milonga, for example, where you actually practice verbal social interaction, which I think should be like pretty straightforward, but it is actually not. And I like maybe Anna, I think you're very familiar with these things if you've done the somatic trauma therapy or tantra things. I've from some friends of mine who did tantra things, I learned that it is very profound to just do an exercise where you you find a partner and you do some kind of exercise. For example, ask, "Do you want to dance with me?" And for a few times, everybody says yes, and then for another few times, everybody says no. Simply to have done it in a way, like to hear a question and then say yes and say no, to because people never practice this in a way of getting a habit of, yeah, it's actually fine. It's fine if I say yes, it's fine if I say no. I don't have to worry what the person thinks. To just get much more relaxed in that environment and not make it a huge deal because it's it doesn't need to be. And
Yeah,
yeah.
to have an imprint of, and there are a lot of exercises. And honestly, it's the most difficult thing to organize something like this in the tango community.
Mm. And it would actually be a huge skill for everyone to learn for normal life instead of kabaseo, because in kabaseo in normal life, what do you actually learn from it for your real life?
Thank you so much for sharing. We have 5 minutes left, and I would like you to briefly say what you're taking away from this call, and maybe you have desires, what you would want to have better, or for next time that we could incorporate. Yeah, and just like briefly, yeah, kind of.
Just because I promised share that I would share
Yes.
text. Share, Jeremiah's share is one of the members of this circle with regular attendance, and
Mhm.
she couldn't make it today, but she sent a beautiful text I would like to read for everybody. Yes, I promise her.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry I will miss the session, blah, 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 but this is my reflection. She says, this is such an interesting question for me. The dance does not end when the music does. Music is only the doorway. The real dance continues in the places no one can see. 3 years ago, I embraced a friend and I had not seen for many years. That embrace still lives within me. My body remembers what my mind could never fully describe. Love entered quietly and never really left. Healing arrived without asking permission. Perhaps this is how grace moves. Argentine tango is like that. The last note falls into silence, but something deeper keeps dancing. Two souls have listened to one another without words, and that conversation continues long after the room is empty. Maybe this is true of life itself. Nothing real ever ends. Love changes form. Beauty becomes memory. Memory becomes presence. The most meaningful moments are never measured by how long they last, but how deeply they touch us. And somewhere within us, the dance goes on. Much gratitude. Share.
Hmm.
That was very nice.
Yeah.
Words.
I will definitely include that in a blog post. It's precious.
Hmm.
So my little comment will be, this has always been a focus of mine, is what structures or behaviors or forms do we have that are inclusive and which are exclusive? And frankly, my opinion about things like caballeros and rules in general is more often their design, or maybe the design intention was good at the beginning, but they're kept and formalized to be exclusive. So there's the in group and there's the out group. And I've always reacted against that, and it just doesn't work well in a lot of organizational structures. Unfortunately, in Edmonton, we're far enough away from the tango meccas that we can kind of do whatever we want to do, so I don't have to pay too heavily a price for our insolence or whatever. But that's the question. Is it inclusive or exclusive? When a person walks through the door, doesn't matter what their experience and what they're looking for. My goal, and basically the goal of the community, is to make them feel welcome and include them as much as possible.
Thank you, Aidan.
Yeah, I love that. I will take that with me for sure.
One simple thing for me is something you said, Ala, or someone else also said it, is this need for care. Yes, I think it's pretty obvious as an organizer, but just as a dancer, to go to any space, class, milonga, practica, with genuine care for people. And the word care implies respect, love, appreciation, and then that extends beyond the beautiful tanda or not so beautiful.
Thank you. I agree. Jeremy, do you want to say anything briefly?
Yeah, I have to go. I really enjoyed this. I wasn't expecting it to be so small and intimate, but I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
It
so
was
nice to.
the
It's so
smallest
nice.
group ever.
Oh, really? Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us and for your contributions.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think it was, for me, it was, I think I will review it and take notes or whatever, because it's really something that is bubbling in me, something that I would love to keep sitting with and working with, and very grateful that there are people who are thinking in the same direction, so I don't feel too alone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Un abrazo fuerte.
Tú también.
Abrazo fuerte, fuerte, fuerte.